a design process. Okay. It is a design process that is used by most people as an industry design process that we use to solve problems in the UX world. So first you start off with the problem statement, and then you go into this discovery phase, which is mostly about understanding the requirements of the problem and conducting actual research. And once you have all those data and you've come to a good understanding of what the problem is, you start to narrow it down and define the requirements of the problem. So once we get to that stage, starts the role of the UX designer, which is mostly the design part, which is where we're like designing different things and developing and we're testing different options. And finally, now again, if you notice this thing about the diamond is the first part, like the discover and develop, are mostly activities where we're expanding all our options and exploring different things. And then when you narrow it down is when you finalize on the solution. So once you've develop multiple iterations, we get into the deliver part of it, which is when we present our solution. So the different people involved in this phase of the double diamond include the quad model, which includes the product manager or product owner. So usually the product side of people are the ones that come to you or the UX designer with the problem statement and some data points. And then you can work with a researcher to collect more information, and then we come to that conclusion. And then the main part of the designer's job, which is where we design multiple iterations and we come up with a solution. And we finally hand it off to a developer. Um, cool. Now, the first part.
So the first part of the double diamond approach is research. Sanjana kind of went over bits of this already, but the primary goals here are going to be to gather as much useful insight as possible. So whether that's consumer behavior data or actual information from interviews, or if it's just quantitative data, so numbers, gathering as much of that information as possible, and then turning that into tools in order to help us define actual requirements that we might need, and then defining a problem statement. And in order to do that, we might use Figma. So FigJam is a tool that's often used among project managers and designers in order to kind of visually display lots of different types of information. So whether that's key insights that they might have gathered from research or other useful information like that, you might use FigJam, which is a collaborative whiteboard, in order to display and share that information. We can also document research here. So, like I said, sharing insights via sticky notes on the whiteboard or other methods. And then we can also use FigJam in order to map user journey flows and then also workflows.
Okay. So thank you, Dylan. So that is the first part of the diamond. Now, the second part of the diamond, which is probably your favorite part about designing, is where it involves more usage of Figma. So this is where you're directly working on Figma and trying to create different mockups. You're creating prototypes, and you take all of that and you pass it on to your developer. And Figma has a bunch of new releases and launches that help us with this developer handoff that I will show you real quick. So first, this fancy functional prototype is something you can design just using Figma. So you can make something like this, you can use it to test, and you can use it to give it to your developer so that they can understand all the nitty-gritty interactions that go with the product. So Figma is really helpful, and it gives us something that is so close to life that we can test before we actually launch. And this thing on the right is called Dev Mode. So this is one of Figma's new releases, and it happened pretty recently, and it is to help more collaboration between the designer and developer. So once you've finished all your designs and you're trying to hand it off to the developer, it's helpful if you can use this dev mode, because like we have these capabilities of like looking, like if you see right here, you can see like the padding, the different components that are used, you can name different things. And there's another new exciting thing coming up called annotations. So Figma is just getting better and better with like helping us work with all of our different partners.
So we've kind of talked about some of the cool features that Figma has, but overall, like, why are we here teaching you Figma? Out of all the softwares that we could have chosen, or all the other, lesson plans that we could have gathered, why are we teaching you specifically this tool? Well, it's become kind of a industry standard in terms of a single place in order to take a product from conception all the way to almost development. Right. We talked about how you can use FigJam in order to help do research. So you can take that and work with Figma in order to brainstorm different ideas, create different feature sets, all within Figma. And then you can take it over to actual Figma and work on it in really low fidelity prototypes or wireframes. You can move it over to medium fidelity and then all the way to high fidelity prototypes, as Sanjana showed you earlier. It's a really great place to do all of those things in one area, and that's why we've chosen it. And we hope that by the end of this course, you guys are able to use it to your own means. And the way we want to do that is with the lesson plan that we've created here. So throughout this lesson and then the next two lessons they're having next Monday and then the Monday 2 weeks from then, we'll be hopefully teaching you all you need to know in order to create a high fidelity prototype. And then all the lessons after that are meant to add on to that knowledge and help you guys design in a more efficient way, as well as create even more higher fidelity prototypes. Um, and I think we forgot to introduce ourselves at the beginning here, but like I said, my name is Dylan. I worked at Geico as a UX designer. I was part of the club for, I think, 3 years prior to graduation. You might have seen me around if you have been around the club for this semester. And yeah, I'm happy to be one of your instructors for this lesson.
And my name is Sanjana Venkat, and I was also in the UX Club with Dylan. I was in the UX Club for about 1.5 years. I was the vice president last year, and then I just graduated last year, and I was working in Paycom as a product designer, and now I'm working in Chase as a product designer. So yeah, we're really excited to get started with this. And for today, for the first class, we will be focusing on low fidelity wireframes. So before we get into this, obviously, I'll give you guys a tour of Figma and how to use it. But what is a low fidelity wireframe? So it is a really nice mockup that can help you brainstorm different solutions so that you don't come up with something too detailed and you can just kind of test your ideas. So what you see here, these screens on the left and right, so these two screens, they're very different layouts. So once for you to actually get to this decision, if you start with a low fidelity wireframe, it can save you a lot of time. And it'll also help you to just understand information hierarchy, how you want to lay different things out, what is the most important part of the page. And you can also do simple usability tests to just understand like the functionality and how your different users might use the app. So with that, we will get started. Okay, before I get started, do you guys have any questions so far about the structure of the class or yeah, any questions so far? Any questions for us?
And one other thing I wanted to explain, if you can bounce back to the dates, that screen, we prepared this course in a way where you're able to bounce in and out of the courses. So we understand that people are coming into this with a variety of different experience levels with Figma. Maybe you've already used it for a year or two and you kind of already get the basics of it. We're not expecting you to show up to every single course if you don't need them. Right. If you're a beginner, then we would recommend that you come to each one because the knowledge will be building on top of each other. But if you think you kind of already understand low fidelity wireframes and maybe you just need information on prototyping or auto layout or other topics, feel free to just hop into those. And then at the end of this program, we'll also be doing a certificate. So we're still figuring out the exact logistics of that, but if you attend a certain amount of our workshops, we'll be taking attendance and then we'll be awarding certificates to people who meet that threshold at the end of the workshops. And then again, if you have questions, feel free to send in Q&As or put them in the chat. I see someone asked if we're going to be using the same Figma project for all of our classes. Right now, I think the idea is that we'll be taking you through an example and we'll be building on top of that example from class to class. But between classes, if you want to work on your own little example or project, feel free to do that.
Questions? Okay, cool. I guess we'll get started. But if you think of a question, don't worry, you can put it in the chat and we will address it when we can. Okay, so now we get started here. So we will be using Spotify's design system to come up with some cool things. So right now I have these two different layouts that we're going to be doing for today. But again, before I jump into any of that, does everyone have Figma open? I'm just gonna go over the layers panel and navigation and stuff. Okay, I'm assuming everyone has Figma open. So I will start off. So on the left here, if you've never been to Figma, so real quick, this is your main cursor that you will be using. So this is your move cursor and changes into a fancy Figma cursor when you actually get on Figma, something like that. This part is for you to make a frame, a section. So a frame looks something like this. I'm just going to show you. You click on the frame and then it gives you like this tool that you can just drag and make an actual frame. So that's what a frame is. And then this is a section. It comes with a nice little title, so it's kind of easier to organize your information. As we get into this workshop, I'm going to ask everyone to make a section so that we can kind of hop in and help you guys as needed. So that is how you make the section. As you can see here, these characters and stuff, these are shortcuts. So they're there for you to reference, and I have a little cheat sheet for you guys to kind of understand the shortcuts if you want, but I'll try to narrate some of them as I go as well. The next thing we have here, we have shapes. You can make shapes with this, and then this is your pen tool and pencil if you actually want to do illustrations or you want to draw something out. Text box for actually making text, you just drag it out and you have a little text box. And then plugins and components, this will go into later as it gets relevant. Um, and the hand tool, if you want to drag things out, but no one uses it, and comment feature. So before we actually get into this, I am going to ask that you guys have access to this file. So Lily has just sent you guys a link. So if you all can open this file, I'll probably see a bunch of you guys popping in right here. So I'll give you, yeah, there we go. Cool. I see people popping in. So if just so that we can keep things organized, try not to interact too much with this space that we have here so that, I mean, we have things backed up in case something gets messed up. But if you can work on this side of the board, that'll be the space where you can work on. For now, you can just drop down and you can just like find my name and spotlight me. If you want to see me on Figma, just like it'll move around and it'll just follow me. So if you want to follow me on Figma, go ahead and do that. Um, I see a lot of, it's like ants crawling. Okay. I'm just gonna put this. Okay, before, if you guys can try not to interact with this area, I promise you will get to play with Figma just quickly. So we're just going to continue with the introduction of the Figma panels. So on the left here, you have pages, so you can make as many pages as you want in your educational plan. So you can go ahead and make pages. And we also have these different layers. So for example, if I hover over here, did you lock it, Dylan? Okay, he locked it. No. Okay, thanks. So if I hover right over here, you can see all the elements that are inside this frame. So usually we try to design by starting out with frames, and all the elements are contained inside a frame. So as you can see, all these bunch of rectangles that are getting highlighted as I hover on them, these are the different elements that go, oops. Okay, these are the different elements that go into a frame. So that's what the layers panel is for. It kind of just shows you what you have there. And on the right here, if you can see with the design aspects, this is for alignment. And then this tells you like the dimensions. So if I'm hovering on this, it's telling me the dimensions of this specific frame. We'll go into these details in future classes, the fill selection. So pretty self-explanatory things. Any questions so far regarding navigation and layers and different, like how to use Figma? Also, how do you move around? If you're using a Mac, you can hit Command, and if you're using a Windows, you can use Control, and you can use your mouse to like scroll so that you can zoom in and zoom out. I see that someone put that in the chat already. So that is how you can zoom in and zoom out. So again, you hold Command and hold Control and just zoom in and zoom out. If you have a touchpad, it's easier. You just do the zoom with your fingers. So that's how you zoom in and zoom out. And if you want to move around the file, if you have a regular mouse that has like the little scroll thing, you can just hold on it to just drag yourself around. Or you could use the hand tool if you're struggling with that. So you can use the hand tool and just like click to move yourself around. So um, any difficulty so far? If you have any, please put them in the chat, but I hope everyone is situated for now. I see some people are playing with elements here. So, okay, we will get started right away. I am just going to move this back. I'm a little picky about alignment. Okay, so we are going to make these screens. So I'm going to start out by showing you guys how to do that. So before we do that, can everyone go in this side, and whoever made this, do you guys need help, or is just your workspace? Okay, I'm going to assume it's your workspace. So if you can go over here and click on section and just drag out a section and just put your name in there. And you can use this corner here. I will be able to just follow around if you guys have questions. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's use, there's a lot of space on this board. So let's use this side and let's make sections. I'm going to delete my section. So make your little sections so you can follow along. I'll give you a minute to do that. Someone messaged me directly. Give me 1 second about joining. If you joined late, don't worry about it. The session is recorded. Yes, we can send you guys the link to Figma. Okay, yeah, if you joined late, don't worry. Session's recorded, but just like a quick overview, we are just making a section right now. So if you go over here and you click on section, you'll be able to make a section for yourself. Just write your name in that section, and we'll get started.
Again, there is a lot of space on this board, so if you find yourself being really cramped, or if you're like right next to someone and you want more space, feel free to navigate around the board. There's a lot of space.
Okay, so I hope everyone has a section. I see people moving around. Cool. I think most of us have a section, so I'm going to get started. So the first thing we are going to do, I'm going to build exactly this along with you guys. So I'm going to just extend my section so we can do it together. Okay, so first we are going to go to frame. But before you actually build a frame, if you look on the right here, you have different options for phone sizes. For the sake of this project, we're going to try to use the same phone size. So we are going to be using the iPhone 13, 14. Is that, give me 1 second, let me double check if that's the one we used. Dylan, is that the one we used? The 14, 13?
I think we use the plus.
The plus? Okay. Okay, so let's click on frame and let's use this one, this 14 Pro. 1 second. Oh, it is plus. Okay, yeah. Let's use iPhone 14 Plus. So we're going to click on that, and it's already made us this phone screen. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put it on my screen, and obviously my section is white, and the phone screen is white. So I'm just going to click on this fill and change it to black. So are we following so far? We're just going to make a phone screen, and we're going to change it to black. I will zoom out and check in on people. Hey, I see phone screens. Cool. If you are struggling, again, use the chat, let us know. Okay. And okay. So again, when you're making the frame, you've clicked on it and you've selected the iPhone 14 Plus. After you make that selection, you are going to click on the phone, and then you're going to go over here for fill, and you're going to just select black. So you can just drag it down and select black. So once you have that, we are going to make, let's do this screen first so we can start out easier. So I'm going to click on this shape and I'm going to say rectangle. But once I've selected rectangle, I'm going to hold on shift. And as I'm holding on shift, uh-oh, someone changed my phone screen. Okay, I'll make it again. Okay, try not to work in the section directly, but if you need to like come and take elements, that's fine, but try not to change the content. Okay, again, we have our fun screen. I am going to click on this rectangle and I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to drag out a square. Now, the point of holding shift and dragging is that it gives you a square with, it gives you a square. So it has the same dimensions. It has like 71. And once I've made that square, I'm just going to make it about this size. Just make it any size that you want. And we're going to keep it right there. I'm going to zoom out, check in on people. Yay, everyone has a square. Now, I'm trying to build in some shortcuts. There's ways to obviously do this without shortcuts, but if you want to use a shortcut, you can again hold Option, or if you're using Windows, I think you hold on to the Windows command, and you can just drag and make one right there. So you have two boxes now. Again, how do you zoom in and zoom out? You hold, yes, I can show you how to make the square again. So we go here and we click on the rectangle and you hold shift. And as you're holding shift, we drag out the square. Thank you. So it is Alt drag for Windows. So once you make the square, if you want to make a copy, you hold Alt or you hold the Options command for Mac and you drag it out. Cool. Okay, so now we have two squares. And if you're not able to do that, again, you can just Control C, Control V, Command C, Command V. You can just copy paste the squares. It'll just, when you copy paste on Figma, it pastes on top of the thing that you actually have. So just drag it out, then you know you'll have two. Okay, so if we've made two squares, now you guys know how to make a square and how to make multiple of those. So we are going to follow the same thing, go on the top left of the screen. You're going to select this line, or you can just hit L on your keyboard. And we are going to hold shift again, just so you can form a straight line. So I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to drag and I have a line. So I'm going to pause for a second. So now, once you have your line, does everyone have a line? Okay, I'm going to assume that we have a line. Now, when you have a line, we're going to go on the right-hand side to your design area, and you are going to increase the stroke so that it's like a little thicker so we can see. So you can either type in a number, let's just type in 5, or you can just drag it out and it just increases, as you see there. So again, to make a line, we're going to either, I'm going to show you how to, you just hit L on your keyboard and it's already selecting the line and you're holding shift and you're dragging out the line. And then on the right side, you will see that you can adjust the thickness of the line. So you can just select. Okay, you guys kind of get the hang of how we can make shapes. So I'm going to go a little faster. And we're going to, again, make another square. I'll repeat the instructions as we go, though. So top left corner of your screen, we hold the rectangle or just select R. And I'm going to start from here just so I can measure out the size of my rectangle. And I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to drag another big rectangle. And I'm just going to select the rectangle to move it down to the screen and just position it right there. Now you have this for reference, so I'm just going to keep this on the screen so you can just build it as we go. And again, I'm going to hit L and I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to drag a straight. And on the right hand side of the panel, I'm going to change it to 3. And I'm going to zoom in so that I can hold Option or hold Alt and drag another option, or sorry, another version of the line. And you have 2. And I'm just going to make this smaller. So you're going to click on this, hold shift, reduce the size. So the reason I'm holding shift is because it kind of just keeps things in place when you're making a line. If you don't hold shift, it's a little harder, like, just kind of get messed up. But if you mess it up like that, it's fine. You can just go and change it back to 0 degrees. So now it's a straight line. So again, you're going to click it and you're going to move it to move and position the element. And I'm going to make more squares. So I'm going to hit R again. You guys getting the drill? This time I'm not going to hold shift because I want it to be a rectangle, so I didn't hold shift. And I want to make more squares. And I'm going to use Option or Alt key to drag one over and to drag another one. And I want a bigger square. So again, I'm just going to drag this and then change the size. Again, hold Option or hold Alt, drag, position. You see those lines that come up? They help you center things in your frame. So this is why we use frames, is because you can kind of see the alignment and it'll help you position things in center and design easily. Now I'm going to hold Shift and I'm going to increase the size and I'm going to position. You see that? That's another helpful thing about Figma, is it also gives you the direct, like how the distance is between the other elements. So again, you can center it, but it looks like, I'm just going to keep it right there. And if you guys can't already tell, this screen is the Spotify screen when you're trying to play a specific song. So when you're playing a song, this is usually the album cover. These are your two buttons. So this, I think, is like the collapse button. And then this is like the three dots for like more options. And this is usually like a name or something. I think this is text. So I'm trying to indicate text using line and actual like elements of the screen using the square. So this will be the album cover. This will be your play pause region. So this is like, this is the play button. This is the entire track of the music, skipping, blah, blah, blah. And usually Spotify has like details about the lyrics or songs. So that's why I have this element right here. For this one, if you guys can pay attention again, this will be a little tricky. So we are going to make a rectangle. So I'm going to hit R and I'm going to make a rectangle, and I'm not holding Shift because I don't want a square. But you see there, it's going outside the frame, but it's not seen to me because the frame is containing all the elements, but it's cutting, it's like it's clipping the content. And if you notice the usage of that word, when I click on this frame, I have clip content enabled, which means that if anything overflows past the frame, it won't show that content. But if I uncheck it, and how do you, this panel is on the right. So this panel on the right, if I uncheck it, it's showing me the content. But I don't want to see it because you won't see it on your phone. So again, I'm going to hold the frame and I'm going to select clip content. So that is how you can show elements that go outside of the screen. So again, to quick rundown. So this is your layers panel. Inside this frame, this is the icon for frame. So inside this iPhone 14 Plus frame, you have these rectangles that are being hovered as we go. We have a bunch of rectangles and a bunch of lines, and that is the screen that we want to create so far. So I'm going to pause. If anyone is lost, please let us know. We can spotlight you and try to help you. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to figure it out. And you can try to make this if you want as well. So I'll just keep this going here. Is anyone completely lost and needs help? I can maybe spotlight you and try to help you out. Yay, I see some similar things.
We have a question from Yi. How do you clip content, Sanjana?
Yes, I can show you again. So I'm just going to take this out and start. So let's just say I am creating a rectangle or any element, and I'm going to just start drawing it on the frame. So as you can see, that rectangle is inside my frame. If you draw a rectangle outside the frame and you just want to drag it inside the frame, it'll be clipped because on the right side, when you click on this frame, you will see this button that says clip content. So if it's selected, then the content will be clipped. So you can see it's still there, it's just you can't see it. Does that help? No problem. So when you're not selecting anything, it's just showing you things about the page. And after you select a frame, it gives you that panel. Uh, yes, I can. Let me find you. Actually, I'm just going to try to spotlight you. Is this you? Okay. The lines. Yeah, you want to change the thickness of the lines? So we can select this, and on the right panel, you will see that it's 3 right now. You can change it to 5 or 7. And let's see. Yeah, it's 0 degrees, so it seems like it's a straight line. All your lines seem straight. Is there anything specific you wanted me to check on that? Okay, cool. Yes, looks pretty good, guys. You see a big screen here. Cool. Let me show you a little hack. If you made a big screen and you're trying to resize it, Priyanka, can you give me 1 second? I will just duplicate your screen and show this. We can do this. Okay, so this is her screen. So say it's pretty big, bigger than the phone screen that we're working on. If you click K, so again, don't touch anything. You shouldn't be holding anything. If I'm holding this frame, it won't work. Don't hold anything. Just click outside on the canvas. Click K. Actually, okay, there. So once I've clicked K and I select the frame, this is called scaling, and you can actually just drag it out, and all the contents inside of the phone reduce with the size. If you don't select K and you're trying to reduce it, let me go back. So without selecting K, you're trying to reduce it. That's the problem that she was facing. It's just clipping the content. If you don't want that, again, you just click K, and then you click on the frame. And on the right side, you will see that it's showing you how to scale it. And you see that the cursor has changed to like that scale icon. You just reduce the size, and there you go. And so you can try on your. So if you have bigger phone screens, and you want to reduce the size, you can use that to scale. So you don't have to reduce the size of everything. It just, can you specify how to select your frame? Yes. So let me go back to mine. Sorry. Okay, so this is me selecting the canvas. And if I click on this, you see how the entire box is highlighted. And in order to check, if you check on the left side on your layers panel, it has that hashtag. That means you're selecting the entire frame. But if I'm selecting just the rectangle, only the rectangle is highlighted and it's inside, but I'm not selecting everything. So in order to select the frame, I usually just go to the text and try to click on it. That usually selects the entire frame.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I copied your frame on my frame, like the first one that we were building,
Yes.
and I selected it by its name, which is hashtag home.
Uh-huh.
But when I try to make it bigger,
Mm.
it's it's staying the same, just the black background is getting bigger.
Yes, I can show you how to do that. So that is also scaling. So I'm going to just move over here. If you can, oh yeah, my screen is being shared. Okay, so here's the frame. And again, I'm selecting the frame by clicking on home. So I see that the whole frame is selected, and I've already clicked K. So I've clicked K and it's showing me this scale option. Now, once you see this icon, you know that you are changing the scale of the entire mockup. So if I want to make it bigger, now it's making the whole frame bigger. So like that. So I can show you that again. So I'm not selecting anything. I click K, and then I select the frame, and you can change the size of the screen like that. Does that help?
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Do you guys feel pretty comfortable? If you want, you can try making this. I can make this a little along with you guys if you want. Um, it's almost the same structure, so let me walk through it again. Oh, you see, so since I've selected K, on the top left in under my move tools, it has changed to scale. So I need to be careful. I need to change it back to move so that I'm not changing the size of things as I go. So now I'm back to move. So I'm just going to copy this frame. So I'm going to hold Option or Alt and drag it out. And I'm going to build this one. So again, when you're trying to make circles, if you hold Shift, again, you'll get a perfect circle instead of an ellipses. 1 second. Yes. Okay. So in order to give you guys a reference of what we're actually building, I will drop the screens of the loaf. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to the shapes and I'm going to click on ellipse. Is that right? And I'm going to hold Shift and thanks, Dylan. So these are the screens that you actually created right now. So this is a lo-fi version of your Spotify that actually shows the song that you're listening to. So if you see, I always try to document the buttons and every single interaction that the user is going through, because that's the point of lo-fi. You want to know all the elements on the page. So we have the different buttons, the title that I was talking about, the name, the subtitle. Oh, we missed the heart. So we can add that back if you want as well. So yeah, these are the reference screens. And this screen is the reference for this home screen. So I'm just gonna that together. Okay, so the only thing different about the screen is the ellipse, which I kind of showed you guys how to do. So if you want to make a perfect circle, you can hit hit O on your keyboard, or do this, hold Shift and drag it out, and you can make a perfect circle. And that circle represents this icon, your profile icon, and we have all the little labels that we can see the different options for podcasts, audiobooks, etc. So that is pretty much it for the lo-fi aspect of this. This is a very helpful exercise to just kind of lay out your different options as you're working on projects. Hope that was helpful. Any questions you guys have about navigation or Figma, just getting started with it, let me know. And I think we're good to just open the floor for Q&A. If you guys just want to keep working here, I will put some music.
And before we start the Q&A, I'll just say that if you guys are going to leave the class soon, or if you're not planning on continuing to work here, next week's workshop will be covering hi-fi screens. So that means how to take what you currently have now and transform it into something much closer to what the actual screens look like. So on Sanjana's screen, if you look at the presentation, how to take your low fidelity screen here and then turn it into something more akin to what you'll actually see in the product. So again, if you want to see how to do that, please come back next week, and Sanjana can continue from here.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Dylan. So next week will be very interesting and detailed about how to actually make this full screen. And I'm just going to put some music and let you guys just chill here. If you want more specific questions on Figma, feel free to ask us anytime. It's so cool watching everyone. Yes, it's going to be Mondays at 7 p.m. every other week. So I can pull up the schedule real quick. It's also on our, oops. It's also on our Instagram, but for now, here is the class schedule. But yes, it'll be every other Monday, 7 p.m.
It's not exactly every other Monday, but it's roughly every other Monday. Just refer to the dates there. We're working around the weeks where the UX Club has events. So on the weeks they do have events, we won't be hosting a workshop, and vice versa.
We also have a question from Chinwei. where can you find components for different design systems to use?
Good question. I'll give you a high-level answer verbally, and for more details, I think our components class would be good. But usually, components are stored in this assets site. So if you're working in the industry and they already have a design system, you'll be able to search anything that you want. Like you type button and it'll pop up. As you see, we don't have any components right now, but if we do make something a component, it'll show up in your assets. So you can get it from here, or you can just make a copy of the component and use it in your designs.
And then to answer that a little bit more broadly, if you're looking for specific components from like a specific company or their design system, often that's kind of like that's secure and that's under their infrastructure, so you won't have direct access to it. But some people will create duplicates of it, and they'll be on Figma or other software out there. So if you have something you want to find, you can often just kind of look up like blank design system, and you'll find something similar to it, or maybe the actual thing if they're a huge company like Apple or Google have those open to developers. So you can find it there.
Yeah, for this class, we're probably going to be getting into Spotify's design system a little bit, so you'll get a chance to see that in detail. I think it's a pretty good design system. So. One more thing, actually. We are working on this Figma right here with a bunch of resources and videos. So Figma is kind enough to make a lot of quick intro videos for you guys to like learn all the things that we're teaching in class. So if you just want more tips or you just want to continue learning, I will send, yeah, there, thank you. Lily has sent the link to this Figma. So we have a lot of information here. This was shared in a workshop last semester as well. So yeah, feel free to use this as a starting point. And we'll keep updating it as we go with the classes. And if you were in class today, you will be getting attendance. There'll be some questions about that. So yeah, we will be downloading the attendance report. So if you attended today and participated, you're good. And unclip. Yes, let me show you guys clip again. Okay, so on this screen, I'm going to click over here on the top left and select rectangle, or you can select R on your keyboard. And I'm going to drag an element. Now, since I started dragging the element inside the frame, it's already, let me show you. This element is already inside this frame. Okay, so now you click on this frame, which by selecting the text, you'll be able to click on the frame. On the right side on this panel, if clip content is selected, then you're good to go. Then your content stays inside the phone. Now say that you make a rectangle outside this frame, something like this, and you want to put it inside this frame. You just drag it in, and you see how it's the entire iPhone is being selected. And if you look in your layers panel, the rectangle is inside the hashtag iPhones. Now I know it's in the frame. And if I try to take it out of the frame, it'll just be clipped. So again, this is the rectangle, and I just dragged it into the frame. So sometimes it's really hard to know whether it's in your frame or not. So I always recommend checking your layers panel to make sure all your elements are inside the frame. So yeah, that's one way to keep track. And again, if you're selecting the iPhone and you unselect clip content, it'll just overflow. So yeah. Oops. Yes. We're gonna share more details about the certificate as we go along, but the premise of it is just attending class and participating. So throughout, we've structured the class in such a way that you'll be able to like have like a decent project by the end of the class. So as long as you have that, and we'll come up with more details as we go. So for now, just attendance and participation should qualify you for the certificate at the end of the workshop series. you guys have any questions in general about the design process or anything at all, we'll be hanging around here for another 5 minutes. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions. You do not need to sign for attendance. We'll just download the report of whoever attended the call. So as long as you were in the meeting, you've done some work on the Figma, you're good. Do you need a certain major? Not like a requirement. But usually if you're in UTD, a lot of people tend to benefit from having a psychology or a cog sci or as a major or minor. So those are some of the big ones. Dylan, if
I'll
you
say
wanna-
that from my experience in the actual industry, the people who end up in UX do come from pretty much every major. It's not like you necessarily need to study one thing or another as long as you understand the principles of design or research, and you're able to apply those with the tools available to you. That's a pretty nebulous answer, but like you don't need to be in any specific major to get into this field. There's people who have literally been like pre-law and then they switch over to UX design and now they're 20-year managers. So it's like, you know, you just kind of have to study the actual applicable skills.
Yeah, and some good resources and starting points if you are in UTD would be definitely, there's a lot of design courses. So Mark McKinney, Professor Norm Cox, they have some excellent design courses to help you get started with UX, and then obviously UX Club, and you're here, so that's good. And then if you're interested in some psychology classes, there's, I guess you could do cognitive psychology, social psychology, things like that. But yeah, those are in terms of classes and outside courses. There's a Google UX certificate, and it's really helpful to give you like the end-to-end, and it's pretty close to how things work in the industry. So highly recommend checking out the Google UX design course. I think it's about $30 a month, or no, yeah, something like that. So.
And we'll be wrapping up the course pretty soon here. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to get those in before we officially end class for today. And we won't be closing the Figma or anything. So if you do want to stay on that and continue working on your wireframe, feel free to do that. So the course or the certificate you're going to be getting from taking certain classes at UTD, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily equivalent or not equivalent. When employers or recruiters are looking through your resume and looking at certificates, the Google one has been out for a while, so people will usually know exactly what skill sets they can expect out of that. The one at UTD is a bit newer, so it might be a bit more difficult for recruiters to exactly understand what skill set you have developed by going through that. But again, it's also certified by a relatively respected institution. So I think like both of them are pretty good to have on your resume, and will make recruiters see you in a bit of a better light.
Hello.
So you have a question?
Yes. So how do we save frames? Like, how do we save our work? Or like, do we have to do it manually, or is it going to be saved automatically?
It's automatically. So it's going to be backed up. So this file you will have, as long as you are on the education plan, you should have access to everything once you come back. And if you do lose access for some reason, or you misplaced a version, you can always, in the top panel right here, you can select this and click Show Version History. And on the right side, you will see all these timestamps for the version. So say that you accidentally delete a bunch of things, you can retrieve it by just clicking on the version, and you can either restore that version or just copy things and put it back to your current version. So, but yeah, saving, you don't have to manually save. You can literally just close this tab, and when you go back through your files, you can pull this tab again and it'll be there.
Okay,
I'll also
and
say that if you want to save it on your own and like you don't want other people to have access to your work in case you want to work on it later, you can always go back to the homepage of Figma, and then create a new design file, and then copy and paste your work over to there.
okay. So right now, if I close my window,
Mhm.
next time we will be here, it will be there only.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll definitely be here. Yeah. But like as Dylan said, if you want to save it to your own personal, that's fine too. I think would recommend that if you want to just keep a copy of your work. But yes, it'll all be here. And I think we're probably going to make a separate page for each class. So you'll be able to see these pages, you'll be able to access them all the time.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Um,
Do you think UX UI is a growing field, or do you think it'll be easier for AI to replace it in the future? Um, well, my personal opinion on this is I think at the moment it's probably a field that is going to be less impacted by AI in terms of like replacing actual workers, just because like a lot of what I did as a designer and researcher was gathering insights from like user interviews, and that's not something I necessarily see being replaced with an AI or any conversational bot. So I think those are like very specific skills in order to chat to someone, kind of understand what they're thinking, and gather key insights from that, and like taking all that information and distilling it into useful information, and then actually taking that information and applying it to your designs. I don't necessarily see those things as being something that can be automated, as opposed or in addition to that, I do think that AI can impact the field in terms of being a help. I think there's a lot of tools that are coming out that are helping designers design more efficiently, or being able to automate some of the more tedious processes that they go through each day in terms of, creating screens, or trying to convert screens into usable assets for developers. I think there's a lot of tools coming out to help with them, but I don't think it's going to be a field that necessarily slows down that much from the advent of modern AI.
I agree. And to kind of add on, right now I'm actually looking into courses and things that'll, like chatbots being integrated with AI is something that's like that I'm focusing on, or that has been a thing in the industry, or at least with the stuff I'm working on. So, um, yeah, it's just going to help us enhance the technology that we offer. I don't think it's going to be able to take our jobs, so to speak. So it's good to learn, and it's good to understand how. I think now is the perfect time to start like stepping into it and understand how you can use it uh, in your job as a UX designer. So, of course. With that, I think we will call it a day for the class. Hope to see you guys again in our next class. And uh, yeah, if you have any questions, you can message us offline in the Discord as well. So take care.